And just like that, folks, we're back with another episode of the Esports Rewind podcast. The reason why we're laughing, if you guys are listening on audio, a lot of you are probably on YouTube. Me and Zan are now completely facing separate ways. I was going to start off by making fun of you, Zan, but this makes complete sense. If you guys do not know, we're currently in a pandemic. Things are only escalating. What? Shoot.
This is news to me, my guy.
Am I breaking this news right now?
Yo, breaking news, update from Esports Talk. Corona is here.
I think this whole coronavirus thing might be pretty serious. If you guys don't know, Zan comes into the office. I am alone in the office. Zan comes in once per week for the podcast. We are taking all necessary precautions, and that's why he does wear a mask, and he is now facing away from us. So make fun all you want, guys, but we're trying to take it seriously because there's also a lot of comments that say we should be. So,
all right, well, I think the mask looks nice. I'll let y'all know. I had this mask before the Rona hit.
He made the fashion statement way before the Rona came. So
it's all about that tech wear life.
Either way, it's good to have you back for another episode.
Good to see you again, my friend.
And literally, I see you once a week now. And every time I look over, you look away. So we hope you guys all enjoy. Shall we get started?
Yeah, let's hit it.
Let's run it. All right, Zan, so our first controversial piece out there is actually a very funny story. If you guys do not know, these podcasts are actually pre-recorded, so at the point of me recording, nothing has been done yet. The trade should go through. By that, saying you probably know what I'm talking about, Xanifer.
Oh, pretty immediately.
Dude,
The trade, capital T trade.
This is the reason why I love what we do. There's, of course, you got to cover a lot of the stories that come out when they come out because, your esports news, esports talk, you talk about the big stories when they happen. Every now and again, you get to talk about a topic that just is very fun because it's a once likely in a lifetime, if not that long time thing. And it's a very funny circumstance. That being a huge trade in the League of Legends scene. Apparently, Liquid Doublelift has several offers out there, one of which is from TSM. It just so happens his girlfriend also is the active president over at TSM. We also had former Overwatch talent, I think just in general esports talent, very well-known name, that being Monte Cristo, bringing to light the circumstance of, is this a conflict of interest if Doublelift were to choose TSM with, of course, his girlfriend also being there. And so I'm going to bounce that thought off of you, Zan. As of right now, nothing has been done. The trade should be going through, although as of right now as well, we saw Reggie tweet out a couple times last night. It was kind of like the sideways face and then LOL.
Oh, yeah, all pretty vague,
very ambiguous. Nailed that word, dude. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so right away, I've always thought that I'm glad that Doublelift and his girlfriend are happy together and all that, but it's always been a kind of weird circumstance to be dating the CEO of another competing team.
President.
Yeah, or president. Yeah, rather.
Same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, they're top figures.
Yeah.
I don't mean to correct you, but someone's going to.
No, yeah, of course. I'm glad you did. But yeah, it's just and I'm glad they've been able to navigate that pretty cleanly from what I can tell so far. No conflict of interest things arising thus far. But this is just such a potential problem for the org down the line where, say Doublelift runs into problems like he just had on Team Liquid where he's losing motivation and he sticks around on the TSM roster. The immediate question is going to be, is this some form of nepotism? Is he only there because of his girlfriend? And then that doesn't do him any favors or the team any favors.
Yeah, and it's kind of rides the line, is it worth the risk? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of other factors that play a role in this. Of course, other people mentioning the fact that Lena, now dating Doublelift, she's the active president. She also is dating the founder and also one of the original owners. She had dated him, that being Reginald. I don't know if that's necessarily, really relative to the topic at hand, but people like to bring that up because, it does give her a bit more power than maybe a typical role would, which also influences what the team or organization might do for Doublelift. And this is not saying that we think they would take advantage or they would do these kind of things. A conflict of interest is the potential to do those things. And so when it comes to, we talked about this actually last week as well, when it comes to conflicts of interest with team ownership and the CSGO scene having financial ties to several teams out there, it's a conflict of interest because it could be a controversial thing and it could be abused. So we're not saying TSM Lena is out there
absolutely not.
Going to kick players because Doublelift says to, or the fact that Doublelift is going to say, Lena, kick this. It's a conflict of interest because it's a potential problem for the future that they could possibly abuse. Overall, I think on a lighthearted note, it's pretty funny,
Yeah, a little bit.
Because what if you were in his shoes?
I would not be in his shoes.
You-
Hard stop, no.
Okay, but like, what if
just
you
like
were?
that's like business 101. You just don't do that.
Yeah.
You avoid anything that could give the appearance of impropriety like that. It's just, you just don't.
But it's also very hard, Zan, because no one has ever been in his shoes like this. No one can ever say that they were a top figure personality.
Not in esports. We've seen it in other industries.
Yeah.
And in other industries, the example has very clearly been set. Hey, don't do it, because if you do, then the rumors are always going to be swirling. It's going to put strain on the relationship to a certain extent, and
it's a tough one to analyze, and everyone's going to be very vocal about their sides. That's why we're kind of stepping back. It's a funny instance because it's the first time in esports, and we'll see how it does get handled. You guys can leave your thoughts down below. One last question for you.
Shoot.
Do you think the trade goes through?
I think
it does.
I think it does, but then I think issues pop up within a couple months, like with Riot, like in their code of conduct somehow being like, do we want this like swirling around in our league? I could see that happening.
And I think also to end on as well, I think it'll be something that if it does go through, I think you're probably right. We'll be talking about it again when it's some sort of controversial decision is made and people instantly go back to, oh, it's because Doublelift is dating the president. So,
yeah. Wish them both the best of luck, though.
Oh,
absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah.
Love the story, and we'll see what happens.
You know what, Jake? You know what in a weird way, what the biggest problem with esports is at the moment? It's the developers and the way they handle their esports games. Because it's just all over the place. And once again, we have yet another developer making a wildly weird decision involving their esports scene and their development of the game. Earlier this week, we had the Challengers League take place for Rainbow Six Siege. And in the middle of the event, Ubisoft was like, hey guys, balance patch. So, just stop playing for 20 minutes, lose all your momentum, you got to download the patch, everybody's got to get on it, and then all the pros have to compete with completely new, this was a big change, completely different balance for the operators that they've been using. And my question to you, Jake, is we've seen this time and time again from different developers pushing patches right before events. We've seen like that the same thing happen in Fortnite. We've seen it similar things in Call of Duty. And every single time, event organizers are like, hey, this really messes with everything. And it's not like the developers don't give event organizers a heads up like, hey, this is coming, so they can plan around it. Normally, it hits out of nowhere, and people are just left in the dark with no idea how to play the game anymore. Because, I mean, realistically speaking, large changes affect a lot, especially at the pro level. So, Jake, do you think this is sustainable? Because I thought we would have seen the end of this a couple months ago. It keeps returning.
This is a weird one because I don't think I know enough details in the background of how TOs or third-party organizers like ESL and DreamHack, so on and so forth, work with the developer or publishing company. Because when it comes to scenes like Counter-Strike, one you did not mention, we don't see this because if Valve does release an update, typically it's in good fashion. Because the thing is with CSGO, you have events every single weekend pretty much, and they still find a way to release them. And if it is poorly timed, we often see that the TOs, they go, hey, we're going to play on the old patch for this event. So I don't know if that's a line of communication that TO has with Valve, and that's the line of communication that Epic Games does not have with their TOs, or with
Ubisoft,
Ubisoft does not have with their TOs. But it seems like some scenes definitely do avoid this. I mean, League of Legends is a different system because it's the franchise model. It's not weekend and week events. We do see several updates though for League of Legends. I think they've become more accustomed to those constant changes, and they too also planned when they release those. So it's become more of accustomed as, okay, we expect an update here.
Yeah, I think the reason it works for League of Legends is we know when the patch is coming ahead of time.
Yep.
So people have
it's pretty much a set schedule.
Yeah. So they know, oh, hey, some things might be getting changed around, and they're not like mid-event, like all of a sudden taken off guard, like, oh, this is today.
And some of those updates have been like, whoa, that happened. But even then, it's not near as bad. You used the example that was perfect because we saw this with Epic Games to an egregious extent. I don't know how bad the R6 one was, but we saw this with Epic Games.
Unfortunately.
Epic Games broke their game before some of the bigger skirmishes and bigger events they've ever had, and they did it several times. I think 3 to 4 times I made a video about them releasing some new weapon or mythic weapon or some crazy update within days of a big event. And so I don't know if this ever will ruin a scene. It becomes a gigantic talking point.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's unfortunate that it's going to keep on happening, but it seems like, once these companies are done with an update, they're like, yo, let's push it. Let's push it now.
Yeah, which is the weird thing, though. Like, why not wait a day? They know the event is happening. This isn't like a third-party event. It's a Challengers League event.
And that's where I think I'm missing out on some important piece here, because you would think it'd be as simple as, yo, we have it done. Let's hold off a day, or let's hold off a weekend.
Yeah, like just give it a second.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, this is the second time Ubisoft has done this in the past 2 months.
And I don't know exactly. I really don't have an answer for you, because certainly some scenes know the answer, they know the solution, and they act on it. And others, I guess, because I don't know the right answer, maybe it's laziness, maybe just
I don't know. Because it seems like such a simple answer.
It
right?
does.
It seems pretty straightforward.
And maybe it's not as simple as we think, Zan.
Well, maybe it isn't. But hey, maybe they should just plan things out a little bit better.
And maybe this is Ubisoft trying to get more people to talk about their game, including the pros, and it's working.
Is it, though?
Because
is it working if everybody's like, frick this game, it's the worst, stop doing this?
R6 is an interesting stage right now.
Yeah, it really is.
We'll see how they continue to develop, and especially develop during times where Ubisoft is doing that kind of stuff. All right, Zan, the Valorant debate does continue. I can try and keep this one short because we've seen a few events there, but my main question to you is, what esport and their pro players will transition best into the game of Valorant? There's plenty of options out there. I think probably your top ones are going to be CS, Apex, Overwatch, maybe Fortnite and Call of Duty players, maybe some other ones that we have not heard about. We've announced a lot of pro players already leaving from the middle tier of their scene, especially when it comes to Counter-Strike. A lot of pros have already switched over. Same thing I would say goes for Overwatch as well as Apex. Those are probably your top three. So far throughout events, then, we've seen Counter-Strike pros definitely dominate the results.
Yeah,
but
100%.
this past week, the first time we actually had some Apex boys take down the Counter-Strike boys to win the ESPN Invitational. So I fast fire off to you. Which esport translates best so far, do you think, pro players to Valorant?
Well, obviously, the immediate direct transition is CSGO to Valorant. Valorant, everybody knows it. Riot has been pretty open about it. It is essentially a different take on the CSGO system.
What?
Shocking, right?
No.
Nobody's ever known. Breaking report from Esports
They
Talk.
said they didn't want to mimic. They just didn't want to go out and copy a top FPS Zen. What are you talking about?
They put a new coat of paint on it. That's not copying. It's it's completely different, guys. Look, the guns are different colors.
I'm not judging.
But anyway, so I don't think we're really going to have a direct analog comparison to make here. With mini scenes, Apex is very, very young as an esports scene, and I think a lot of the pros there are just the people who have very good basic FPS abilities. Their aim is on point. Their movement is great. Their positioning and their situational awareness is super strong. And I think we'll see that type of thing rewarded in Valorant in amazing ways. I think Overwatch obviously will transition well because it's slower paced than something like Apex, much more similar to Valorant, and you still got to rely on that base level aiming, So it's going to be interesting to see how the pro scene around Valorant develops, because we've seen people from across the esports industry all express interest in potentially getting involved in the pro play. So I think within the next couple months, we should have some kind of view of what a proper tier list might look like for the pro scene in Valorant.
That was a very respectable answer, because you I would say your answer attunes well with mine, but your reasoning definitely stuck. Especially when it comes to all the minor aspects outside of aim, but aim also being a big one. And I think that's why we probably would agree. I don't think I could nail it down to one, but given recent results, you made a really good point. I'm going to say that CS and Apex players early on will be the best transitioning players into Valorant if they want to leave their current esport, which a lot will. Not only based off aim, but also movement, map awareness. You make some really good points. But I think one point that really stuck with me is that one that people would know if you really look into these Apex players, including the team that actually beat the Counter-Strike team during the ESPN Invitational. That was probably the biggest event we've seen so far, besides, there's only been a few, but certainly one of the more well-noted ones is a lot of those Apex players. Like you said, it's a very early on esports scene over there in Apex. A lot of those players that took down the Counter-Strike guys come from the Counter-Strike scene themselves.
Yeah, not surprised.
So you make a really good point there. I think Apex and Counter-Strike players alone, because aim right now, even the devs themselves have said abilities won't be used to kill. Yes, we've seen counterpoints to that. A lot of abilities can kill, but aim is certainly a gigantic factor. And so that's why I'm going to say probably CS players and Apex players over Overwatch players. But it's going to be very cool to see as this scene transitions out of closed beta what pros will actually emerge, because you got to remember, there's 2.5 rosters right now. I mean, not even. So we'll see what the organizations see, because you and me, we're common people. We will see what the organizations who are scouting people actually see and what kind of talent they look for. And I think if they look towards Counter-Strike talent or Apex talent, that will preach a lot to, if we're right or wrong.
Yeah, I think within the next few weeks, we'll probably have announcements from a few of the major orgs.
I hope so.
What a potential roster
This channel
might
needs
look
some
like.
juice.
Yeah.
We need to rejuice it.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't wait to see what kind of rosters we've got going on. I'd love to see teams that are like a mix of CSGO pros and Apex pros.
It's going to be so exciting.
I can't wait for the first guy from Fortnite to transition and just dominate in Valorant for no reason. Absolutely.
Oh, dude, it's gonna.
Yeah,
I'm hitting myself literally. I'm so excited because we're gonna see these mix of teams, and we're gonna see. Is it gonna be like Call of Duty, where a lot of these lineups are friendship lineups? Are you gonna have to be close to homies? Yeah, for sure. But we're definitely gonna see some real variety of players out there. I'm super excited, and this channel is gonna cover it all, guys. So, what esports pro players do you think transition best from their current esport into Valorant?
Let us know. So, Jake, I have a bit of an update for you from last week in a turn that I don't think any of us saw this story in particular taking. If you joined us for the Esports Rewind podcast last week, you might have caught where we talked about LowTierGod and the drama between him and the another pro player, CeroBlast, as LTG said a bunch of very transphobic stuff. And immediately after we recorded the podcast, he was banned from Evolution, which is the Super Bowl, essentially, of fighting game tournaments, as well as CEO and a couple other big events. And people were pretty satisfied with that. The TOs made a good call on that front. The things he said were pretty hateful and it was excessive, right?
Yeah, they were bad.
But then a couple days later, you saw something really unfortunate happen as several clips of CeroBlast streams came out with them using the N-word quite liberally all over the place. And now Cero has also been banned from several events. I think they might be banned from more events than LTG.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, when I was checking, And it's just you don't see this in esports too often, both people getting taken out this. It's usually one aggressor and the other person's being pretty reasonable about it.
One aggressor, one victim.
Yeah, and now
that sounds terrible. Sorry.
Nobody comes out of this situation looking good here. And the problem is, afterwards, this sparked quite a bit of conversation in the fighting game community as okay, so is there a double standard here of who gets in trouble for, their statements on social media or on stream? Because screenshots are being shared of several top pro players, TOs, community members, also just using the N-word in their tweets in public, on stream, and, without punishment or without people so much as batting an eye at it, And yet now you have people like this getting in trouble for it. And you're like, well, I mean, why is it okay for them to say that and not people like Cero, And the question I would like to put to you, Jake, is we know that there are so many people in the esports community that for one reason or another have said some problematic things in their past. And I think if we go back through timelines and clips and everything for a good portion of the community, a good portion of them probably has said something that would get them banned at some point in time. At what point do we say, okay, today's the day, anything said past, anything said pre-2018, forgiven, and then we all just have to move forward as a community, put out a solid code of conduct, and say, this is what happens if you do certain things. Is that possible? Is that viable? What are your thoughts? That was quite a mouthful, yeah.
No, I get you, though.
Yeah.
A little recap for anyone who got lost there. Pretty much, to put it in more standard layman's terms, for trying to relate this to other esports, imagine a top figure out there, a player, says some very choice words to someone else. They get banned for it, and that person they said the choice words to, they say some choice words back, and they also get banned. That in itself was a really rare case to see and very disappointing. But I like the way you twist this into, because we see so many esports pros, players, and personalities say things they really shouldn't, whether it be on Twitter, Instagram, via video, on live stream, on video for YouTube, whatever it is, I don't think you can ever have a hard set line of okay, if you said anything before 2016, you're clean. I just don't know how that applies because people are so subjective naturally. I think people are always going to judge some people less than others. I mean, people are always going to hate on Ninja more than they hate on Dr. Disrespect. And I don't know if that's ever going to be an established rule. I think it's almost like a rule we have to establish with ourselves of okay, it's been about 3 years. Let's all move on as a community. I don't think it'll ever be a hard line for an actual TO or
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. It is definitely an interesting debate though, because you've got to wonder like, oh, at what point is it like okay that this was a while ago
no,
they changed,
you make a really good
Yeah.
a really good debate out there. Like at what point if a pro player says the N-word, at what point do we all be like, okay, it was 2 years and 4 months ago, now it's fine? I don't know if it ever gets to that point.
No, yeah, right. It is very subjective, and we don't have hard rules from many TOs like, oh, if you say something like this, you get banned. It's always like kind of like a judgment call of whether or not they choose to enforce the rules, based on the person.
I think luckily when it comes to the story you've talked about, we don't have that for a lot of other esports of like, oh, ESL has now banned so-and-so because he said these words 2 years ago.
Not super frequently. No,
so, but I mean, if we come to that, then we come to that. But as of right now, I think it's kind of, it's a subjective thing of whether this person moves on faster than that person, because when it comes to the internet age, we see so many people out there. I mean, you're always going to, if you do something wrong, you make a huge misstep. I speak from experience. You will always be called out for it. You can almost never get over that hump. So it kind of just becomes a point of like, you have to really prove yourself, that you have to prove to people that you yourself have moved on. So for any players out there, whether they're esports or gaming related, it kind of just comes to them. What are they willing to do to show people that they are different, So I think it'll always be subjective. There's always going to be haters.
Yeah, definitely. It's always going to, we can't stop using that word.
But we can try and get people to stop.
We can ask, like, maybe don't. Hey, we'll throw out some alternatives. Fiddlesticks. That's a great one.
Yeah. Tootsie Pop.
Yeah.
There are a lot of nice words you can use in place of bad words.
Gosh darn it.
Yeah.
Dag nabbit.
Yeah. So, all we can do is keep covering it. Hopefully people learn from it. That's what I would say. Ooh! Xenifer, the controversy continues, my man.
Oh, as always.
I love this. I love this so much because, again, we've never seen it. That being these streaming wars, they continue to wage on. You and me have long talked about Twitch versus YouTube versus Mixer. Sometimes we sprinkle in Facebook and caffeine in there as well.
Dailymotion, of course. Crucial player in the streaming game.
I love Dailymotion, dude. Can't wait for Ninja to make the move there after Mixer.
Absolutely.
But this is actually all around Facebook/Twitch. And what DisguisedToast did over the past few days was very interesting because he is now streamed on Twitch yet again, following what we thought apparently it's not, but we thought was an exclusive deal, of course, to move from Twitch to Facebook Gaming. Now, we have talked about this, some other talking points out there for you guys. Facebook has signed other gamers out there from other organizations. I believe some Spanish esports personalities alongside Corinna Kopf, alongside Ronda Rousey. By the way, Ronda and Corinna are actually pulling some massive viewership.
They're doing numbers.
They are doing better than DisguisedToast, I can tell you guys that. But along with that as well, he is now back on Twitch doing some form of e-dating gaming show. I can't give you guys too many details because I'm not sure fully myself. He was actually back, as of us recording this, for a full stream. And in his Twitch title, here's where the controversy does kind of lie. He actually was promoting his Facebook stream link. And so give me your first thoughts on this. We've obviously never seen this. I don't understand how this deal went through with Facebook if it's not exclusive, but it seems to be kind of exclusive.
Yeah, okay, so this is an interesting one because I think we've wondered about this on the podcast once or twice because we haven't seen streamers really, even branch out and join somebody else's stream. Like, say, we haven't seen Shroud come in and partner with Courage on a YouTube stream, really, or any crossover. And it has kind of seemed like where things have been segmented. Everybody stays in their own corner.
I will say really quickly, the only way we see that, we do see like Ninja kind of squad up with those guys.
Yeah.
But not when it comes to like actually. It's kind of it's an iffy issue. We've never seen anything like this before, but we've seen them. At least they can still play Fortnite together.
Yeah, they can still play the game together, but they're not like
But they're definitely not like.
Yeah, they're not like
they're not cross promoting each other or their platforms.
They're not like co-streaming in a weird way.
Yeah.
But anyway, the way DisguisedToast described the situation was that he basically asked Facebook like, "Hey, I'd like to hop over on Twitch and do some streaming," and Facebook surprisingly was just like, "Yeah, go for it." Which is interesting to hear that Facebook is so open to this. And maybe the impression I'm getting is that his contract was not to stream exclusively on Facebook, but to probably stream X amount of hours on Facebook throughout a period of time. And Facebook outside of that probably sees him growing and him having an increased viewership as a chance to bring people over to their platform down the line. Because Facebook is still very much trying to grow as a hub of esports and gaming.
Yeah, and you've talked about this now several times ever since you talked about Facebook launching their tournaments, or they want to do events themselves. They've also launched a mobile app. Is that correct?
Yeah, they launched a brand new mobile app, I think, earlier this week, end of last week, that's dedicated to gaming and streaming and stuff.
So Facebook esports is certainly trying to be a thing. Adding on to what you said as well, I think what I'm trying to garner from a very confusing situation is he went to Facebook and was like, I want to do this dating kind of gaming show, and Facebook is like, well, that's not fully gaming, so you can do that on Twitch if you want. And so even weirder, you said that Facebook's okay with it. I'm more surprised that Twitch is okay with this. If you guys did check out his stream, I don't believe you can't subscribe to him on Twitch because he lost his partnership. If you're a Twitch partner, you can't be partnered on a different platform or streaming for a different platform. That's why you can't stream on Twitch and YouTube. They cut off that tie. And so at what point in time does Twitch stand back in and say, we're not going to allow you to promote a different streaming service while streaming for us, or can they? Like, can they restrict him from streaming on their, like...
I think they probably have something in the, like, you know, in the guidelines for the platform that says, like, oh, hey, you've signed a deal with another platform. You can't come over here. But I think they're not going to do that in this case, because that would be such a bad PR move, first of all.
Freedom of speech or freedom of stream.
It would just paint Twitch as the bad guys, absolutely. If Facebook is being totally open and saying, like, hey, let's just provide content for everybody. They don't have to be over here. Let's just, you know, everybody's at home. They want some content. Why not let this guy just stream where he wants to stream?
And quick thoughts off that. You know, if I'm Twitch, I might actually be loving this because DisguisedToast comes back and gets more viewers than he has had on Facebook since he moved to Facebook. And those viewers are still on Twitch. The number of people who are probably using that Facebook stream compared to the number of people who are actually watching his stream on Twitch, probably a huge disparity. I would say that a lot of people probably aren't going to that Facebook gaming stream.
You know what? From a web design perspective, if you have a website and it's your website, to a certain extent, you can tell where traffic is going from a certain page. So if I open a page and I have a link to, like, let's say one of your videos, right? I can get a rough idea of how many people are leaving the site and going to that link. So Twitch could see this as an opportunity to check, okay, how many people are actually going to Facebook from our Twitch stream?
Yeah.
And get, like, some numbers that could be useful data for them. So maybe it's a win-win.
And I might be speaking out of my arse. I don't believe he was live on Facebook at the same time. So if I'm watching his Twitch stream and he has a Facebook link in his title, but he's not live on Facebook, even if I go there, I'm not staying. So it's if I'm Twitch, like, I think you always make these killer points of, like, if you reject him from streaming on your platform, unpartnered, just restricting his freedom of streaming, you become the evil person. If you let him do this, he's garnering 20,000+ viewers the entire time. That's half of Mixer's concurrent viewership just from one streamer coming back to your platform that you don't even have to pay.
Right?
This is Twitch's dream, at least a face value. We could be. And maybe Facebook likes it too.
Yeah, I think it's a win-win for everybody.
You know who's not winning here, Zan?
Who?
Mixer.
Who?
Don't.
What?
We already have enough Mixer people getting angry at us, and I don't mean to knock them every time we talk about them, guys.
Yeah, I think we both really enjoy Mixer.
We do.
We think it has a lot of great features. We'd like to see it succeed. They're just really not. They're not knocking it out of the park so far.
Yeah.
Let's say that.
But besides that, back to topic, just a crazy, crazy thing to see this time in streaming where you got a guy who we thought signed an exclusive deal, but now he's back on two platforms, kind of gaming on one, but mostly gaming on the other. Crazy, crazy times for DisguisedToast. We will see if Twitch does react.
Hopefully they
don't.
Hopefully they just won't say anything. Yeah. They'll just be quiet like they are in everything else and just go like,
if you're smart.
I mean, like, yeah.
And as per usual, we hope you guys all enjoy. A lot of you guys have been watching the podcast more than usual with the channel growth. We've been more views in the podcast. So we really do appreciate you guys, and we really do like that you enjoy both of our takes. Oftentimes me and Zan are like on opposite sides, and we love discussing these kind of points. So we really do appreciate you guys for all the support, all the comments and likes. You guys are truly amazing. And until then, though, Zan, you want to give them that classic intro?
Yeah. You know what? Thank you to all of our new listeners, our new viewers. We've been seeing amazing growth on our YouTube channel at Esports Talk. But hey, I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. If you wanted to listen to our podcast on the go on iTunes, Spotify, on your favorite podcast app of choice, you can find us as part of the Prediction Esports Talk Show Network. That's PREEDICTION. We upload the podcast there as well every single week. So hey, slide through, give it a download. Link will be in the description of this video if you want to check it out. And we always appreciate feedback from everybody, the audio listeners, video listeners, people who just slide through to say hey. So by all means, reach out in the comments of this video. You can also find us on Twitter at talk_esports and on Instagram at esports_talk. You know, we check all of our messages. We read every single one, like literally. We can't respond to every single one because we get quite a few, but we really do appreciate you guys reaching out. Jake's mentioned it a couple times. We get a lot of stories from people just sliding through and saying, hey, like, oh, did you see this happening in this corner of the esports world? And we're like, wow, that is pretty interesting. Yeah, we'd love to look into that, you know? So thank you all for all the support, all the love. You know, big things coming. We have one big project wrapping up in the next week or so that I've been like burning the candle at both ends to get off the ground, but you know, stay tuned for that.
Big things coming, guys. We're here for a long time and a good time. We always appreciate you guys, and yeah, we'll see you guys back here. We good?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Same time, same day, every single week. Much love, gamers. Stay safe out there. We're not even going to get close to each other. All right, until next time.
Peace.
Peace.